Yeah, all the together, the United States, start with the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father God, thank you for all the recent high school grads, vocational grads, and college grads. Lord, we ask that you fill them with love, hope, and service as they begin their careers. Lord, we also ask for your hand of protection on our police, our service, our fire, administration.
Amen.
Okay, just a friendly reminder, green buttons with the mics on. I'm assuming everything's on and we're good. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like to, roll call.
Mr. Smolik.
Here.
Mrs. Simons. Here. Mr. Ziegler. Mr. Fenstermaker.
Here.
Mr. Hamer.
Here.
Mr. Schultz.
Here.
Ms. Grazia. Here.
Okay, moving on to the reading and approval of the minutes of the May 7th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Smolik with a motion to approve. Ms. Grazia with a second. Ms. Muscatello, please call the roll. Mrs. Muscatello, please call the roll.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes.
Ms. Simons. Yes. Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Abstain.
Ms. Grazia. Yes.
Okay, moving on to the minutes of the May 7th, 2025 council meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the meeting minutes.
Second.
So technically, the way it should work with Robert's rules is, the minutes have been sent off, and has everyone read the minutes? Are there any changes or additions, would be the question. And then, yes, you would indicate, I do have a change, a proposed change or addition to the minutes, and here's where I would do it, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay, do we have any changes or additions to the May 7th, 2025 council meeting?
Council President Fenstermaker, I do have a change I would like to see made on 25R30. There's a note there, it's 510, and it shows that I was there voting, but I was absent at that meeting, as well as it mentions Councilman Hamer as well. I believe it, just a typo. Down in the roll call section,
Which one? 21?
25R30.
Okay.
So you got it. Councilman Hamer was not present.
and then,
Cut and paste.
any issues with that amendment to the motion? No?
No issues.
Okay,
Do we need a motion to make the amendment?
yeah.
So moved.
Matt made the motion, right?
Yeah.
And I second.
Okay, so Matt with the motion to make the amendment, Mr. Smolik with the second. Mrs. Muscatello, please call the roll.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes.
Ms. Simons. Yes. Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Abstain.
Ms. Grazia. Yes.
Okay, moving on to the department reports.
No, hold on. That was,
Motion to amend.
that was a motion to amend.
Okay, we need a
No,
motion to accept.
Motion to adopt. Motion to adopt.
Mr. Smolik with a motion to adopt.
There's a
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Grazia with a second. Mrs. Muscatello, please call the roll.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes.
Ms. Simons. Yes. Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Abstain.
Ms. Grazia.
Okay, now moving on to department reports. Chief Hutton.
Thank you, Mr. President. No formal report tonight, but I am open for any questions.
Chief, any update on the new engine?
No, still have a production number, but has not been started yet. Still looking at end of 26, beginning of 27.
Get the other one repaired, or is that still being worked on then? The other engine was being repaired, I think you said?
One of our two LaFrances is back at the road department. It's been there for quite a while. It has a ladder rack problem. Again, those trucks are so old, it's tough to get parts for it. So I think they've been able to locate the parts, so now it's just a matter of getting it together.
Thank you.
So, and as far as our ambulances go, right now, all of our squads are back. One of them still needs some work. We did have to borrow one from Eastlake last week for about a week for the weekdays because we had two down, but they're back up, and Joe and Sam were able to get them going on Friday.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Fernaro, is that something I can machine for you or anything like that? Parts?
Not this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions for Chief Hutton this evening? Okay, moving on to Lieutenant Fisher.
Thank you, Council President. First and foremost, the Kirtland Police Department was incredibly busy these last couple weeks. And I'd like to recognize the officers for their hard work to continue to make Kirtland a safe community. Their hard work is not going unnoticed. We have continued our efforts to slow down traffic on Hobart Road. We will continue to do so. We conducted 22 TTAs since the 5th, I think the last time we spoke. As a result, we made 12 traffic stops, resulted in 7 citations being issued, 5 for speed and 2 for prohibited trucks, Joe. I'm sure you guys kind of heard on the news, or maybe you haven't, so I'm going to brief on Wednesday the 14th, around 8:30 p.m. Kirtland Police responded to an assist other agency call from Willoughby Police for a victim of a carjacking, which was an aggravated armed robbery in the area of Kirtland Road and Johnny Cake. One of our officers heard the suspect vehicle was heading southbound on 306 and actually located it at a high rate of speed southbound near Joseph. Both officers engaged and attempted to stop it, and it did not stop at all. So a pursuit was initiated. At the time, the suspect was ramming cars, used a crowbar to carjack the female victim. But the officers were not aware if the other occupant of the vehicle was actually being kidnapped. So hence, I think they did a great job of apprehending a dangerous suspect that needed to be removed from the road and to keep everybody else safe. There was a accident involving that suspect where it sideswiped one of our residents, and thankfully those 2 young ladies are safe and unharmed. He is currently awaiting his court hearings at the Lake County Jail, and I'm confident he won't be seeing the city streets anytime soon. So good job to the officers for that. There was no injuries, again, which is a very dangerous situation, and we're glad no one was injured. Lastly, we started our preparation for the 2025 Strawberry Festival, believe that or not. And I believe the same rules that we implied last year are probably going to be in effect again, where we're kind of limiting the unaccompanied minors that are not our residents with our family members. Other than that, that concludes my formal report, and I'm open to any questions you guys may have. Yes, ma'am.
Are they going to fence again?
That is the plan.
Lieutenant Fisher, the pursuit, did that end in a crash as well?
It ended in a pit maneuver from Willoughby Police at the Getco gas station and Bainbridge at 306 and 422.
Okay. I saw them, I was sitting on my front porch. It was quite the show. There was a little bit of speed going on there.
Absolutely.
Okay, any further questions for Lieutenant Fisher tonight? Okay, Lieutenant Fisher, thank you. Mr. Fernaro.
Good evening, everybody. Like always, I'd like to start off with thanking our team They've done a great job the past 2 weeks. We started putting up banners and flags. Hopefully you noticed that going down 306 today. Our flower baskets are scheduled to go up tomorrow. The blue tractor is making its around, doing some roadside mowing. Thank you to the Kiwanis, Legion, the Scouts, the Garden Club for the veteran cleanup. Everything turned out nice. I think our crews did a great job prepping and getting it ready. And that completes my report. Oh, open house on Friday for public, it's National Public Works Week. So to recognize our staff, we have our annual open house this Friday. And please slow down in construction zones. That completes my report.
Mr. Fenaro, we're completely done with the 306 bridge. We've had a few inquiries the last few days.
We are completely done with the 306 bridge.
And that was just for the, they wasn't approved of last year with the asphalt, and they just came out and redid that
So
asphalt.
let me take that back. We're still waiting on weather for them to put some sealant down on the sides. It shouldn't impact traffic.
Okay.
What are the hours for the open house?
4:30 to 8, I believe. Let's call it 5 to 8.
5 to 8. Thank you. I'm going to ask AM or PM because we know you're there at that.
If you want to come at AM, I'll be
Come
there.
at 4:30 in the morning, you'll meet them there. Yeah.
We have some cleaning up to do at 5 a.m. if you'd like to come and help.
Okay, Mr. Courtney, I'm sorry, any further questions for Mr. Fenaro? Moving on to Mr. Courtney.
Thank you. Good evening. I'll start with the road program. Pavement cores should be taken this week for that work. And final determinations on the pavement treatments will be determined after after the testing results are received. Draft plans and specifications are just about complete. We're targeting June 2nd for advertising the project. Kirtland Chardon Road, base mapping for the project is complete. We're beginning the preliminary design now. And we have a scope meeting scheduled with ODOT on June 2nd to finalize the project scope and schedule. 306 sewer extension, ordinance 25031 on tonight's agenda will authorize the preliminary design for that work, that project. Aerial and field surveys, aerial surveys completed. Base maps were received from the aerials survey company last week, and field surveys are underway to supplement that information. We will be preparing a OPWC pre-application to be submitted to District 7 on May 23rd to fund a portion of that project. Hopefully we can garner enough points to make that work. Wisner Wall, our request for pre-funding on the design for that repair is in process with County Stormwater Department. We're waiting an MOU from them. Once we have that, it will be brought to you.
Mr.
all I
Courtney, was
have.
the
Happy to take any questions.
OPWC grant, did you hop subjects? Was that about the sewer design? Or was that about something with the culvert?
Oh, OPWC is for the sewer design.
What would that amount be if it was awarded?
That's what we're kind of tinkering with, because depending how you balance the grant loan and total ask, it's a point-based system. We want to try and maximize our points there. We haven't determined those final numbers yet, but I'm thinking it might be somewhere around $700,000 to $800,000. That's preliminarily until we get through how it's going to score.
Mr. Courtney, regarding the Wisner and is there any fear right now of any of that wall collapsing?
Yes. I just haven't been saying it out loud, so thank you.
I drove by it this weekend, and I don't know what's holding some of those sections up right now.
Well, each layer is pinned into the next layer. That's why it's sagging and not completely collapsing, but
Okay.
I don't know how much those pins can actually hold. in their rebar. I just don't know what size they used and, you know, how many layers they go through and that kind of thing. But yeah, I drive by it frequently just to check.
Okay, when we talk about the wall funding, you know, the requests and all that, timing, once we get that funding, and scope of work, we have all that already, or that's still?
We have proposals from SME to do the redesign of the wall, the survey work to give them a base plan to work from is almost finished. We need to get some work done along the bottom of the wall, and the river's been up for a little bit, so my guys couldn't get in there. But once we get that authorized, we should be ready to go. We're all set and ready to go as soon as the funding is authorized.
Mr. Courtney or Mr. Finero, the Lake County engineer changed the load rating on Wisner. Do they contact you and post that on the bridge? They did both?
They contacted us, and it is posted now.
I didn't get a chance to drive by. I just thought I'd. Thank
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Courtney this evening? Okay, great. Mr. Slatniker.
Thank you, Council President. I have no formal report, but I'm open to any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Slatniker this evening? No? No. Okay. Mr. Lallo.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I don't have too much to report on today, just as we indicated in the work session about the fence. I have been working with the Lake County Building Department because that fence exceeds 8 feet in height. And they're the ones that actually approved of the fence install and the permit for the fence. And part of the reason is the city doesn't have a building department. So when we don't have a building department, it goes to the county. So they are the inspectors, they're everything as it relates to those various building code issues, and that's where that fence falls. The head of the building department did make a trip to the property last week, inspected, did note that some of the fence posts were not dug to a sufficient depth, indicated that the contractor, I believe, fixed a few of the posts, but not all of them have been repaired. The building official did indicate he was going to go back out there to make sure everything is according to his approved specs. So hopefully we'll get something in the next week or so to confirm that it is in compliance. I'll keep you posted on that. Other than that, we've had a few record requests. I know I think somebody sent a record request regarding the emergency meeting we had and asking for the notice and whatnot. And I know Ms. Muscatello actually, the law on that for the Open Meetings Act is that you have to provide, if it's an emergency meeting, and there's various reasons for emergency meeting, one of which was the road issue that we had and getting the legislation out so that we can get the contractor there immediately so that that can be fixed. The law requires notice. It's obviously not 24-hour notice. That's for a special meeting. For emergency meetings, all you have to do is provide, if there's a newspaper that requests notice of advance notice, you just have to notify them the date, time, location, and purpose. So that's exactly what we did. In fact, we went a step farther and sent out a legal notice as well. So we really, I think, went above and beyond, but I think the requester wasn't entirely knowledgeable of the law, but I just want to make sure you're all aware in case somebody asks you about that. The emergency meeting is for, there's for specific purposes and reasons to have those. And the notice provisions on there are really just to let the press know about it and give them enough chance to get somebody there if they need to. I think we gave them like pretty significant time, I think like 20 hours or something. So all things considered, that was advance notice for that type of meeting. Other than that,
So, Mr. Lallo, I just want to stress, we did everything that we could,
by the
and
book.
we did everything by the book, and we did it all the right way.
That's exactly
I
right.
just want that on the record because I'm hearing grumblings about that.
Yeah.
And We asked the questions, we submitted the information, we had the meeting. People had the opportunity to come to that meeting that morning. So, I mean, I know it was short notice, I get that. But we had to get the approval done to get the road fixed.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I just want to make sure that's also important. Thank you.
I think that may be the first one I can recall in my 9 years I've been on council, so
Exactly. I mean, we don't take that.
we haven't used that at all.
Yeah,
very
and
often.
just for extra additional fodder, let's say,
Yeah.
when doing this or choosing to go in this method, I did staff it with the assistant law director as well, Mark Narong, who's a law director at other jurisdictions, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. And he said we were absolutely by the book. So, yes, for transparency purposes, you want more advance notice, but there's certain situations that it's just not possible. And this is one of those. It's a classic example of needing to meet right away for a specific purpose to ensure the safety of not only the residents, but those traveling on that main thoroughfare.
And these were everything that we were discussing up to making the decision to hold the emergency meeting. We wanted to make sure we did it properly and did it by the book.
In an
so
open
that-
meeting.
In an open meeting.
You got it.
So, okay, thank you.
Question for you. So notice being just a phone call, and
Yes.
then the legal notice was actually,
Above and beyond.
but that's a document in a newspaper,
Yes.
like they're online, whatever.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
For everybody else.
Yeah, so no, providing notice to that newspaper is letting them know, hey, we have an emergency meeting coming, whether it's via email, phone call, however it is. I would prefer to be in writing, and we obviously did that. But putting it in writing, letting them know that we have an emergency meeting, the purpose, time, and date, time, and location. A legal notice is putting something out in the paper, specifically saying, legal notice, this is, ABC.
Would it be worthwhile maybe updating our charter to include emergency meetings in there?
Well,
It
that's,
says special.
so special meeting, correct, special meetings is one thing, but emergency meetings is something else that's written in the statute as it relates to it. And,
I'm sorry, not the charter. No.
yeah,
If an ordinance needs to be there, so it's stuck.
gotcha.
Gotcha. Just
Yeah, I mean, the issue is if our charter and our ordinances are silent on a specific issue, then you look to the statute, right? And
the
if
state.
sta-
Ohio.
Correct.
Okay. Then
Now, the
kind of no
home
reason
rule,
to.
correct. Now,
Yeah.
home rule says, and as a home rule municipality, we're a chartered municipality. So then our charter governs. And if our charter and our ordinances are different, expressly contradictory to the state statute, right, the revised code, and it's within our purview to do that, then our ordinances and our charter.
Okay, Mr. Lallo, thank you for that explanation. I do
Yes, sir.
appreciate it. Is there anything else for Mr. Lallo this evening? Okay, there is no Julia. So, Mayor, you have an update for us?
Yep, thank you, Council President Fenstermaker. I did want to thank Mr. Gibbs for coming here tonight as a valued resident and a helper to the administration to cover for Julia to get this on video tonight. So thanks to Mr. Gibbs for always being there and stepping up. Did want to quickly recognize Janelle. Janelle's been on working for us now for just over a year, and the voluminous nature of the things that she's had to deal with over the last year, and a lot of it is kind of taking it on the fly without having seen some of these things before here in the city, even things Denise hadn't seen. So Janelle works really, really hard on our behalf and the city's behalf. So thank you, and
Thank you.
we appreciate it. Even got a clap. I wasn't going for the clap even.
Trial by fire, huh?
I would also like to thank everybody that came out on Saturday morning for our annual cleanup here at City Hall and Veterans Memorial. It's one of my favorite days of the year. You get to see a lot of different groups, whether it's Kiwanis, the Garden Club, the Scouts and people from their family, guardians and parents. The American Legion folks come out. So it's a great community effort, and of course, thanks to Mr. Finaro and the Public Works Department for getting us all of what we need that day, although I'm not saying the service department took it. I think Mr. Sam took my pitchfork. Anyone sees him. So, yeah, thanks to everybody. Honestly, it's the City Hall looks great. Service department does a great job here. And then also that leads into Memorial Day, 10 o'clock parade starting at the high school, makes its way over to City Hall as usual. I think Mr. McCrory and the Legion have a little bit different program this year, but still it'll be patriotic songs played by the marching band, and I think a few speakers as well. So looking forward to that day, as always. Come out and remember those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. DNS Auto, big congrats to them. I know they've been open up there on Route 6 for a little bit now, but they had their kind of formal, official ribbon cutting just last week. I was lucky enough to take part in that in conjunction or sponsored by the Willoughby Western Lake County Chamber of Commerce, who, if you haven't noticed, the Willoughby Western Lake County Chamber is very active, very vibrant group, really does a ton of outreach to communities and businesses. It's been a great organization for a long time, but under the current leadership, newer leadership of Dana Wolf, I feel like that organization is really kind of flexing its muscles for our businesses here in Kirtland and in Lake County. So appreciate DNS's investment here in the city, and certainly appreciate the work that the chamber does. Eddie and I continue to work with other members of the administration, whether it be Mr. Slapnicker, Mr. Lalo, Marong, Courtney, Finaro, just in related to some of the downtown potential development. We've got over at the Pumpkinville property, I think a few times now we've seen a group of folks, investors, come to show a few different iterations. I think a third iteration is coming before planning and zoning in early June. So, and thanks to Janelle again for working through all that, and thanks to Doug for his review and guidance on those issues. So exciting stuff. We'll see where it lands, but appreciate everybody's help on that. I would say that in June, we'll be looking to appoint a new planning and zoning member. Just a couple-year member, Mr. Dan Laux, recently purchased a house in a neighboring community, and I think sold his house here recently. And so we'll be looking to appoint somebody sooner rather than later. If you have any thoughts or people that you'd like for me to consider and for us to consider, please do let me know. And then back to the agenda tonight, I think we talked in our work session about the old business. Both of those, I think the first is on a third reading, so that one, council hopefully will pass without much fanfare. That's been on for 3 readings, and certainly it was a result of, it stems from the work of the Utilities Commission. So that one, and then I think the second reading, I think both Mr. Lalo and Chief McAllister said that can go 3 readings. That's the resolution relating to the memorandum of understanding with the Kirtland Police Department. I would ask the 25-0-31 authorizing us to get an agreement with Mr. Courtney for the preliminary design, the Courtney Company, I should say, of the Route 306 to 6 sewer expansion project. Again, I think Mr. Ziegler pointed out in the last meeting that this was, in fact, budgeted for in the budget. Lewis in the work session spoke a little bit to that. And, we have a great opportunity here for as we work toward the funding mechanism and funding mechanisms to pay for these sewers going forward, whether it be through grants that we're working with, whether it's Congressman Joyce's office, OPWC is mentioned, county, even the state. I've talked to Senator Serino just a week or 2 ago, just to put it on, keep it on his radar. for some future opportunities. Certainly TIFs, and then participation from the developer themselves of that nursing home property. So those discussions are going well also to assist with that sewer funding. So this is the preliminary design. Need this to kind of ascertain all the information that we need to actually get to full design, which would come at a later date. But I would ask the council pass that tonight so Mr. Courtney can continue his work along that path. Sorry, I didn't mean to be that long-winded. But if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for the mayor this evening?
Mayor, because Mr. Gibbs is here, I just wanted to ask about the fiber optic state contract. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I will. I don't mind putting Mr. Gibbs on the spot. Please, Mr. Gibbs, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. I know the IT guy, so I think it's on. Yeah, so thank you for the question. So where we're at with this is we've seen the first volley of the full contract from Ohio Gig come our way. I had a couple issues that I responded to them with. They had shot it out to not only us, but their Fiber Capital consulting company. I don't know. I honestly don't know exactly the part they play, but it's some part on their side of the business. So there's multiple eyes reviewing the contract. Like I said, I went over it for our detail, wanted some adjustments on what we were getting quid pro quo for the potential lease agreement for the property on 6. And my expectation was, I believe they mentioned that end of this week, I thought was our last promised date to get that back to us after they've addressed those issues that I brought to them. And then next stage would be to, I believe, is assuming everything gets adjusted without issue, off to Mr. Lallo's office for the legal review aspect. And then obviously on to administrative review in this room. So.
Was there any discussion, Mr. Fenaro, do you recall we had I think it was a committee meeting to discuss perhaps instead of them encumbering the parcel on Route 6, perhaps setting up their shop, your property, fire station? Do you recall that conversation?
I do. And we talked about them coming from Everstream, again, not the IT guy, but where they were grabbing the fiber to begin with was closer to the property on 6 than running it to our yard. So that's why that decision was made.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Anybody else? Good to talk to you all anyway.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, any further questions for the mayor this evening? All right. Moving on to any standing committee reports. Moving on to any correspondence. I'm not aware of any correspondence. Public comments on matters not on the agenda. If you'd like to speak, feel free to come up and give your name and address. Come up to the mic just so they can hear you online.
Yeah,
We know you couldn't resist.
You guys know I go to Florida every winter, and I'm just thrilled to come back and find my city as nice and clean and serviced. And with you guys in charge and you guys doing the work, it's wonderful to be home.
Welcome home. Thank you. Okay.
Julie, is it okay, neighbor?
He has his moments.
Okay.
a better neighbor when he's in Florida.
No, because then I have to go over and get stuff from his house all the time. And he's like, someone was on my front porch.
There you go.
I like
There
it
you
better
go.
when he's here.
All right. Okay. Moving on to old business. 25-R-21. Note, this is actually the third reading, not the second reading, but third reading. A resolution approving the revised rates for sanitary sewer system charges for Hickory Hill, Rockwood Ledges, and Shenandoah, I probably didn't say that right, Shenandoah subdivisions as determined by the Public Utilities Commission of the City of Kirtland and declaring an emergency.
Motion to declare an emergency and to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Smolik with a motion to declare emergency and adopt. Mrs. Simons with a second. Any discussion?
we're in good shape for getting those, obviously, first invoices will be July then, is that right, Mr. Fernaro? Thank you.
Mayor, was there any consideration in any funding from the general fund to help out these folks?
Can't be done.
I would let Mr. Slapnick answer that question.
So because these are business type activities, the sole source of revenue is from fees that are directly tied to those residents directly. So as far as general fund dollars being transferred there, we cannot. But what we were able to do, and this was on the last council agenda, we were able to advance $25,000 to the Rockwood Fund. There were some cash flow needs in order to purchase some pumps to keep those operational. And the difference between a transfer and advance is repaid back to the general fund, but it would need to be paid back within the same year. So advancing additional dollars over the course of years isn't also a viable option, and you're not able to transfer as well because a transfer is a permanent replacement of funds into another fund.
And that's the Ohio Revised Code, or what governs that? It's just accounting, or?
I'll have to check in the revised code. I think there's a section in there about that.
Yeah, if I can recall correctly, I think we were talking about, I can't cite anything specifically, but I know after Lewis and I staffed this with the documentation that we reviewed, it was clear that you couldn't have the city pay for it. It's out of its general fund dollar. So it's, as indicated, it was like I think it was a business type.
It's a business type fund, which is the only source is those fees that are charged directly for the users of that wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, I'm just looking, we've had multiple sewer discussions to a certain degree, right? Proposals and options, and just trying to see where it can happen. Okay. And then just as always, we'll see updates on the funding that comes every couple of years, or you'll get paid every quarter, correct?
Yeah, they're done quarterly, so we're going to have within our revenue reports and our expense reports, you'll see separate lines for those. So we're really looking at having a debt service side of it, because we're going to be looking at some debt service to make those capital improvements now, and there's going to be a future capital/operating line item as well. So yes, those will be detailed out within those revenue and expense reports that's posted on our website monthly.
All right. I hope it's nice and conservative, because it would not look very well if we had to come back and revise it again. So I'm sure you guys.
I'm assuming, just for clarification's sake, the difference between this and something like the sewers in Old Town or something like that would be when people purchase property within any of these areas, they know up front that this is part of the deal in purchasing that property, is that they're a part of these, correct?
Yeah, and when those wastewater treatment plants were first built, those are servicing specific parcels.
Okay,
Yeah.
and they're aware of that at the time of purchasing a home and all of that.
First sale, I'm not sure if that would be, I think you would find that out after you bought the house, right? Do they know immediately?
It should be on there. It should be a sewer bill.
I mean, if you look at the utility bills, yeah, you would find out you were on that, but
Okay.
wouldn't know, I don't know if you would know it immediately, from a listing or so per se.
You'd
But,
have to put that on the list.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and a lot of times when we have title companies will contact the city when a house is going to be transferred, especially within those wastewater treatment plants. They're looking for any kind of outstanding assessments, and we respond to those accordingly if there is an outstanding assessment within those wastewater treatment plants. So the title company's aware, which then is passed down to the purchaser.
Thank you.
We just put those plants under the county, that way we could get it all taken care of.
Okay, any further discussion? Mrs. Muscatella, please call the roll.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes.
Ms. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
Ms. Grazia.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to 25-R-30. Again, this is the second reading. This is a resolution authorizing the city to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Kirtland Police Department and the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association for the resolution of a dispute regarding prior full-time service for purposes of vacation time credit. Any discussion? Okay. Moving on to new business. Public comments on agenda items of new business. Big crowd tonight. 25-0-31. A resolution authorizing the mayor to retain the services of the C.W. Courtney Company as engineers for the preliminary design of the Route 306 to 6 sewer expansion project and declaring an emergency.
Motion to waive the 3 readings?
Mr. Smolik with a motion to waive the 3 readings. Mrs. Grazia with a second. Any discussion?
I think it's too premature to be entertaining this.
Okay. Any further discussions?
It's my understanding that regardless of sort of when we take action on this, we have to do this kind of work in order to have anybody, I mean, pretty much any business that's going to come into that area is going to need an understanding of what this looks like. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Any further discussions? Okay. If not, Ms. Muscatello, please call the roll.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
No.
Ms. Grazia. Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, that was waiving. the
That was the
three
way to 3 readings, sir. I need a motion to adopt.
Motion,
To declare an emergency?
Declare an emergency and adopt. Sorry.
motion to declare an emergency and to adopt?
Mr. Smolik with a motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Second.
Mrs. Grazia with a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple points I guess I'd like to make. Mayor, first off, did you make a request from the Lake County sanitary engineer if they would be willing to do the design pro bono?
Did not ask that question, but we've been in constant discussion with Lake County Utilities, and that's not something that they ever offered to do. I would point to just quickly that back in 2000, I don't know, probably starting in 2008, sewer discussion for the 306 project / Temple View project got underway, and over the course of time, over the course of a few years, you had several different initiatives or ordinances, resolutions passed to produce the dollars needed. And that time, it was actually borrowed dollars. The city was issuing debt to do the sewer design at that time. And what I would also point to is, at the time, that wasn't necessary. That was more of a, if you build it, they will come kind of scenario. So as late as 2011, I think, or 2012, I know that there were several authorizations to borrow. Matter of fact, $640,000 for design work in 2011. So this is not, I guess the point is this is not something that hasn't been done before. We've authorized previous engineering firms to take part in the design, preliminary and final design of sewers. And then in this case, I would like to point out that we are not borrowing funds for the preliminary design. This is coming from the general fund.
So you're saying in 2008, we borrowed money to do this?
In 2008, I'm not 100, I know that the discussion started rolling in 2008, and by 2011 for sure, and 12, there was debt issuances to support these efforts, or those efforts, I should say.
And was that for residential sewer tie-ins, or was that considering downtown for development also?
That was the 306 sewer
306
project,
corridor?
yeah. So, yeah, I guess it's just, I wanted to point out that it is not uncustomary to authorize spending for preliminary design work. And, you know, of course, in this case, we have an opportunity for economic development at the corners of 6 and 306, and much less of a, if you build it, they will come kind of a scenario, right? We have a currently a developer that is beyond interested. They've purchased the property and putting a sizable investment into that corner. And then again, plenty of inquiries to some of the other commercial sites around there. And I can tell you, probably just in Janelle's short time here, the first question is always, are there sewers? And when told there aren't sewers, those desires to build there go away quickly.
Yep. Okay. Makes sense. Any further discussions?
But I guess from my perspective, right, Mayor, for many, many meetings, you had mentioned that you were pursuing $2 million from the budget through Congressman Dave Joyce, right? I guess that led me to believe that the cost of this construction was $2 million, right? And then in the planning and zoning meeting in February, you publicly stated $7 million, which was quite a shock. In Mr. Courtney's documents, he states just over $7.1 million. You know, we don't have a methodology to pay for it. That's why I'm concerned about the cost of this is just preliminary design. Mr. Courtney, if you want to speak to what total final design would be, you know, is that probably twice that? It's like we have to go back to the taxpayer and say, hey, we're designing something. Don't worry about your road right now, but we have really no manner in which to get $7 million. You mentioned a TIF and that you hired a consultant. Council hasn't been presented with any findings from that to understand what the impact is overall to the city's budget on this. I understand over time you're hoping to cobble together funds, but a $7.1 million build, that's one of the largest projects the city would have had.
Yeah,
And without understanding the funding, in my mind, it doesn't make sense to spend the money on engineering, let alone preliminary engineering.
So a couple of things, not bad questions whatsoever, and not even the least bit of a poor concern on your part, Councilman Schultz. In terms of the preliminary design, Mr. Courtney had mentioned in the last meeting and the meeting before how should sewers funding not go forward, or this particular sewer project at this particular time go forward, well, preliminary design certainly is something that can be dusted off a shelf, and the work won't have been, that money won't have been wasted. Secondly, I would just point back to looking through some minutes in previous years, before I was on council, when you were on council, there was no question when, when a resolution came before you to borrow $640,000 for design work. Again, these are things that cities have to do when you're talking about moving forward with economic development. We've had how many road issues, defeated at the polls over the course of the last 10, 12 years, to support road funding to fix our roads that you mentioned, and you're not wrong. I mean, every dollar helps in terms of fixing our roads, but we also have to plan for the future and figure ways out of and responding to the residents' defeat of those opportunities to actually have a funding source for our roads. So we cobble together road programs every year, but without planning for the future. I think that's, we're elected to make these kinds of decisions, and I think that is shortchanging our residents to not work to plan for the future. And I think to have something literally within our grasp, and to your point about not having those exact funds, known at this moment, that's true, 100% true. But I think we've got a pretty good track record also over the last several years of actually going out and ascertaining grants. We worked really hard. Eddie Eckert's worked really hard with Congressman Joyce's office. We have great relationships with our county commissioners. We have a senator that lives right here in our city. We have a developer that is also interested and willing to pay more than their fair share. So multiple financing. Again, listen, if it ends up, we got to wait another year or another 2 years, that's okay too in terms of the final design and construction. But again, I think this is a moment in time that we actually have an opportunity, and and believe me, we'll be running all the scenarios, and all those scenarios will be before this city council. We'll have committee sessions, work sessions. So there is, and there was never misleading by, intended misleading, and I don't think anyone else ever said, oh, you said that was going to be $2 million, and now it's 7.
No, I
Not
didn't-
another single person has said
No,
that, just by the way.
I took it that way, right? When somebody's speaking about a project and they throw out a number, that sounds to me like that's the cost of the project. So I guess, this sewer, is just going up to that corner, right? And it's benefiting only one owner, right? There's been no talk of a private-public partnership to council. So that's why I had inquired a couple meetings ago that I felt that the cart was ahead of the horse here on this.
No, I think so. So maybe with my my own voluminous comments a minute ago, perhaps you missed the piece that there is a discussion with the developer as to helping fund the project, right? Those numbers aren't clear, defined 100%, but we've got some pretty good commitments at this moment in time. So, and to your point about just going, it's not just stopping in that corner, Doug, I think we go to encapsulate another 20 to 25 parcels that surround that intersection, this, going east, west, and a little further south. So there's more opportunity for commercial development at that corner than just single nursing home.
So the plan does involve not just running sewers so that the nursing home development can tie in, but the LaCourcie property, the gas station across the street, the shed corner, those corners are also in the mix.
Colonial Plaza, beyond
Yeah, the
Angelo's.
plaza.
Exactly.
So it's not just, we're doing all this and we're stopping and nobody else.
Right,
has
we're
the
not stopping at the north edge of the proposed
Yeah, 'cause
nursing
that
home
would make
development.
zero sense if we did that. I mean, you got all that commercial there that we could probably benefit from getting it tied into sewers also.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay, good discussions. Any further discussion?
So in terms of the TIF funding, you said you had hired a consultant. I mean, so if there's multiple pots of funding, it'd be nice that council is apprised of that, this is, we're getting.
Any council member can call me on any day of the week, and they have. Any one of these council people that are interested in this project, and many of them are and have been, way more than forthcoming. So feel free to call me. We can stop and have a cup of coffee. It doesn't matter. You can meet me here in my office. I've always had an open door policy in terms of that.
Okay.
If I could just, at this point in time, as it relates to TIF, and there's a lot of strategizing as it relates to the TIF funding, how to do it, and everything, that it's not quite ready to be presented to the public. And I think that's why, as an administration, the administration is permitted to have those meetings, those closed door meetings that aren't subject to the Open Meetings Act, for situations exactly as this.
Well, I mean, you're just gonna, until you firmly know what you're doing, you're just
Exactly.
gonna add confusion.
That's exactly
Right? You just add confusion and add more questions. So until you know what that strategy is, I think it's important that we understand that too.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I'm not discounting that. I'm
Right.
just discounting the amount of public discussion there has been to this body regarding this
Okay.
topic,
Project.
right?
Yeah.
There hasn't been ample discussion. In the first reading of the budget, there was no mention of it. The second reading of the budget, there was no mention of it. Third reading of the budget, I was not present. I was ill. I went through the meeting minutes. There was no mention of it. Unfortunately, the video was not available. So, you know what I mean? And then, yeah, there was one line on some 40-page document. I missed it. I'll admit that. And then when Councilman Ziegler mentioned that, I was like, what did I miss here? Where was the discussion to spend $150,000, $160,000 on a sewer system that I thought it was just going to go up to the corner and stop, right? I didn't know there's branches, right? That's
Okay,
pretty important, right?
absolutely.
It's not just serving
Right, absolutely. It's
one.
important.
So, more information's getting out there.
I think for clarification's sake, what we're talking about right now is spending the money for the preliminary work that needs to be done, whether it's the nursing home, whether it's any other development on that property. If we want to get to a point where we're developing that land, which gives us the opportunity to get taxes back, which give us the opportunity to work on the roads that isn't coming out of the citizens' pockets directly because they've told us that's not what they want by way of voting every time we put it in front of them. We have to look for alternatives other than taking it directly from them. And the way we do that is to find revenue with the city with any of this development. So it's kind of like the land is going to continue to go unused in the way that it looks, which is an eyesore to say the least, until we do the work we need to do to cultivate it and put it, in a position to grow. So I don't think at this point anybody here is saying, yes, let's spend $7 million. I think what we're saying is let's spend the 150 or whatever it is to get us to a position where we're in a better space to figure out if it's going to be 7 million, how we're going to fund that or whatever. But without doing the work that we're voting to do right now, we can't get any further with any of it.
We're also not showing our commitment to the developer that has a, what's he got, a conceptual approval right now?
Yes, preliminary development approval.
Preliminary? Okay.
Yeah, at that February meeting, Mayor, I asked if an economic impact study could be made. And then later, as time marched on, I think it was Mr. Belzerski came in and he made some comments, from what the developer had stated, we're going to have an $8 million payroll. 2% of that's 160,000. Then him and the mayor went back and forth a couple times. That isn't a significant amount of revenue in terms of payroll relative to what Mr. Borthwick laid out in his letter to planning and zoning in that same February meeting, that he had felt that the services that the city would have to provide to support just that one institution would far outweigh dollars in.
So in that case, I would actually turn to our own fire chief, who actually already deals with the single nursing home in this town, and talk about A, the burden, and B, the potential revenue. And Chief, not to put you on the spot, but I guess you can just answer the question, in terms of significant burden and in terms of potential revenue related to ambulance billing.
Sure. I had shared an email with the mayor, and actually trying to remember, there was a resident that, Keith McCrory had emailed me about the letter. I was not aware of the Bruce Borthwick letter until after it was already read. And, I looked at that and looked at the actual comparisons of what we do at Kirtland Woods right now. Also what Menor does at Menor Ridge, which is the exact same facility that we would have. The call volume, it would add one call every other day for us. So it's definitely not overwhelming for us in any way, shape, or form. Mr. Borthwick stressed that, we'd be stuck at the hospital for hours waiting for beds. We don't wait for hours for beds now. We take a lot of our patients to Cleveland Clinic Menor. We're in and out. Our turnaround time is very quick. As far as the benefit we would generate, and I don't remember the numbers, Mayor, I don't know if you're able to pull that up, but I think it was somewhere in the range of $46,000 a year of EMS revenue at that nursing home is what we would generate based on the amount that we collect at Kirtland Woods. So Kirtland Woods is a larger facility, but they only have 74 beds filled right now. The new facility here would be 99 beds. So it's a little bit more, but it's really nothing that we couldn't handle, the extra call every other day. Somebody asked us about noise. Someone was concerned about noise. I don't think there would be a lot much more noise every other day. I mean, you're talking maybe some siren noise coming in during the day for a few seconds and then leaving for a few seconds. At night, we really don't make a whole lot of noise unless we have to. But yeah, from a fire department standpoint, the nursing home, we can definitely handle. I'm not concerned about that at all.
Thank you for sharing that. That's valuable information. I've known.
Councilman Schultz, can I ask what the economic impact study garnered back in 2010, 11, or 12 related to the 306 sewer project?
I highly doubt there was one, Mayor.
Okay, so phenomenal, thought, right? And when I say open door policy, I would love to have Matt Schultz text me, call me, and say, Kevin, let's sit down and talk about some of these opportunities. What exactly are you talking about when you're talking about TIFs or grant opportunities? I've seen this before here in our city. Let's work together on this. That door's still open.
I hear you. I'm just, like I said, I'm paying attention, I'm reading everything, and I feel like I'm missing information, right? It should be out in the public, not just for me as a councilman, but for the taxpayer who are ultimately paying for the design, right? It's coming out of general fund money, their tax money.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, every expenditure here is open to public scrutiny, comment, endorsement, council meetings, committee meetings, reaching out to a council person. These are all things, this is how it's worked. It's where the sausage is made.
Okay, great discussion. Anything further? One last time. All right.
Oh, well, it's off topic. Didn't really, okay. All right, well, thank you, Council.
Okay. Mrs. Muscatello, please call the roll.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes.
Ms. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
No.
Ms. Grazia.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to council comments.
Have a request. And this is for your discernment, Council President Fenstermaker, but I'm not on the committee, but in light of what had occurred relative to the Saturday meeting, I would ask that perhaps that committee look at starting something like an annual culvert inspection program that would first inventory our culverts to understand the condition, or inventory what we have, the condition, and then, I know that things come up when they do because of flooding. Perhaps the committee could flush out.
What specific committee?
I believe, Mr. Ferraro does have
clear.
that. I believe Mr. Ferraro does have that inventory.
But do we have an annual inspection to understand? Oh, you are out
We
there?
do have that information. Has been noted many times, a vac truck, a vac trailer would definitely be helpful. So we're not waiting on Wilby Hills to come help us.
Not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just trying to get something programmed because an emergency is costly and thank God nobody got hurt, right? I mean,
Right.
that's the key.
Correct.
That's the service department committee. I just wanted to note that
Yeah,
that's you just
it's up
said
to you.
committee.
Yeah.
Okay,
My committee, but
understood.
throw it out there.
If we have a meeting, like if we set a meeting for that, will you attend it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was here at your public session meeting.
So, Mr. Fernaro, just to go back to that, you said you have inspections.
We have Mr. Courtney created a whole map of all our culverts.
Awesome. Okay.
If we need to share that, or if you want to,
I was going to ask, number one, if you could share that
if
with,
you want to come up and see it, unfortunately, mine is paper. So
Okay.
everything I do is on paper. So if you'd like to come up, I could.
no, that's absolutely fine. We can share it that way too. But to Matt's point, it would be nice to know if we've got others that are potentially in a risk factor.
We do have others, and on the budget, it's been in there for 3 years, culvert replacements, so.
Culvert replacements.
They are noted,
Okay.
that we know which ones we need to get to.
Yeah, every year you have that in the budget with the culverts that need to be replaced.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard.
Matt, thanks for the comments. We'll take it under consideration, see how we can add that to the service department. Thank you. Any continuing concerns? Last chance for the public. Okay. Looking for an adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All say aye.
Aye.
Aye.